Mayweather and Maidana. Let's do it again. We're making the rounds here on ESPN.com. Jim Basquil alongside Brian Campbell. Dan Rafael will join us in a moment. While it's not yet official, Floyd Mayweather Jr. pretty much spilled the beans about his September 13th opponent. It will be a rematch against Marcos Maidana, which is what many fans want. Maybe not this guy next to me, but many fans want. Brian, is a rematch of the first fight justified?
Kind of two ways to look at it here. Very justified from the sense that, of course, Maidana came out and gave a very surprising performance, put Floyd against the ropes, gave him his toughest test in over a decade, a lot more competitive than people thought. But this fight doesn't move me, and I don't think it moves a lot of people that are close to boxing because it's a little bit too convenient for Floyd, and it's a little bit too consistent for his history of matchmaking after becoming, a pay-per-view brand and a star. You're taking the most money for maybe the less amount of risk. Look, this fight was fun. It was better than expected, but I think a lot of the reasons that allowed it to be that way, you won't see that repeat in a rematch. You won't see maybe the referee that being that liberal, some of the other factors. It's not bad, of course, but with Floyd maybe only having 3 fights left, he could do better.
Yes, well, a lot of us, Dan, were thinking that the first half of that fight, maybe one of those haymakers could land. It seemed to go stylistically the way Maidana wanted. Mayweather turned the tide in the second half of that fight. So when you look at it from the approach of this next fight, can Maidana do anything differently that can get the ultimate result that he wants?
I have a hard time thinking that that's the case, Jim. And the reason is because Maidana is a very good fighter, very entertaining fighter to watch, but he's basically a one-trick pony. If he doesn't get you with the big bombs and the aggression, he's not going to be able to outbox somebody, especially somebody of the caliber of a Floyd Mayweather Jr. Now, the thing that Maidana may have going for him, if this rematch in fact is consummated and they do it again, is the fact that maybe that first fight that they had were the initial signs of Floyd Mayweather's start of the slippage in his career as he gets older and maybe just loses even a split second of the speed. Maybe one of those big bombs land. But I just look at it like this. Can Maidana fight better than he fought a second time around? I sort of doubt it. Can Floyd fight better than he fought the first time? Certainly he can. And that's why I tend to agree with Brian. It's okay. It's cool, but it doesn't move me a whole lot.
Yeah, if he just approaches the fight like he did in the second half of the fight, you could see from the get-go that this is going to be a ho-hum fight for Floyd because he's not really engaging. He can dictate the tempo of the fight and how the fight should be fought. So, from a stylistic standpoint, which potential Mayweather opponent would have been perhaps a better choice for this fight, Brian?
Look, this opponent, if it happens, is being chosen for financial reasons. We know that. But you're asking me who should it have been? And it's not too different from a list of who maybe it could have been the first time around when Floyd chose Maidana. You're looking at guys, you want to see a fight where you don't know the outcome. I think in a Floyd-Maidana fight, you pretty much know what you're going to see. You know what's going to happen. Who would I rather see? I'd rather see some younger guys who are really on the edge here. Some Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, 2 undefeated welterweight titleists that are really on the verge. We don't know how good they can be. Can they give Floyd a tough fight? I think that would be very interesting. And the fight I'm always also throwing around, Jim, is a move up to middleweight. Go up and challenge for Peter Quillen's title, another unbeaten guy. I think these fights that would be much more exciting. You don't really know what would happen, but there's an economic reality in this, and I think that's why this rematch could end up being consummated.
You are always asking Floyd to take the risk.
When you're the best.
And we know throughout the course of his career, that hasn't necessarily been the case.
Not all the time. Not all the time. And with membership becomes responsibility, Jim.
Hey, Dan, with 2 of his 3 Showtime pay-per-view fights producing below 1 million buys, how much pressure is there on Mayweather to draw big numbers?
Well, really, at the end of the day, in terms of Floyd's take, there's not a lot of pressure because his money, once the fights are signed, by all accounts, again, I don't have access to the contracts, but if you listen to what the Floyd Mayweather side says and what Floyd says, his money is guaranteed. He can maybe make more money on top of the guarantee, which would be coming what would happen if, depending on how many pay-per-views the fight does. But if it sells 1 buy or it sells 10 million buys, he's going to get a base amount of money that's, probably in the $30 million range. So from that standpoint, there's no pressure. But if you're Floyd Mayweather and so much of your MO is based on your persona and you're the money man and you can sell to anybody and everybody wants to see you and you're the greatest thing since sliced bread and you're not doing 1 million buys on pay-per-view, what's that really say? Doesn't say a whole lot when the expectation is there that that's what a star the caliber of Floyd Mayweather is supposed to do. So financially, it probably wouldn't hurt, but from the point of view of his reputation as the star of boxing, he'll still be that, but it may take a little bit of a nick.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny, Brian, because it's any of the guys that you talked about as well. You can't imagine the numbers for pay-per-view would be any better than what they're going to be for Maidana. There isn't really a fighter out there in a sense.
Well, there's one guy. There's your buddy Manny Pacquiao. But again, if we're not going to
giving up that hope. I've given up that hope. Floyd Mayweather, Marcos Maidana. We're taking a look ahead. It's not yet official. September 13th, though, Floyd steps in the ring, and it's likely to be Maidana for that rematch. We are making the rounds right here in the boxing page of ESPN.com. For Dan Rafael and Brian Campbell, I'm Jim Basquil.